Why the ancient Greeks did not know the color blue. Homer speaks in his works of the bronze sky or the dark wine-colored sea. If the concept did not exist then in their minds, did they not see the color either? René Magritte wondered what had come before, the thoughts or the language. Márquez points out something similar in 100 Years of Solitude when he indicates that the world was so recent that many things lacked a name, and to name them you had to point your finger at them, which makes us wonder, like the painter, if we really know what that things are because we have a name for them. Maybe we all need to learn a little about the Greeks. Although it may seem incredible, the color blue, which is the color that gives our planet its name and which makes us delight when we observe the amazing mix between sky and sea, was not always there. It is surprising, considering that it is a primary color. To be very specific, it is perceived by the photoreception of a light whose wavelength measures between 460 and 482 nanometers. Even more surprising is the fact that the same people who invented democracy or philosophy were not able to perceive a color that is so necessary for us. The first thing that children who want to paint pick up is the blue pencil, because they need to represent the sky that rises before their heads. It is surprising that the same people who invented democracy or philosophy were not able to perceive a color that is so necessary for us. Not just the Greeks, actually, but many ancient civilizations. The first person who realized that something strange was happening was the one who was British Prime Minister up to 4 times, William Ewart Gladstone, 1809 to 1898, who was passionate about the work of Homer. Thus he discovered that in the Iliad or the Odyssey colors such as red, white or black were mentioned, but never blue. In fact, the descriptions of everything that had to do with that color were incredibly imprecise. The aurora with its rosy fingers, the sky color bronze, or the sea, like the dark wine. Does that mean they didn't see blue? Effectively. Going back to Magritte and his thoughts, having no concept or idea, the Greeks and other ancient civilizations, from the Chinese to the Hebrews, did not see blue. For them it is very likely that the sky was truly a bronze color or the sea a dark wine color. This was demonstrated in an experiment conducted on a Namibian tribe that also does not have a word for blue in their language, although they do have different types of green. In an experiment with a Namibian tribe that did not have a word for blue, they were shown 11 green squares and one of that color. They weren't able to find the one that was different. When they were shown 11 green squares and one blue, they surprisingly couldn't find the one that was different. However, when they replaced the blue with another square in a slightly different shade of green, for which we have no name, and which is very difficult for us to distinguish, they immediately pointed it out. It is difficult that Achilles could wear blue when he did not know what color it was. In the beginning there was the word. And that word was black and then white, or perhaps dark and light, because they represent day and night and are fundamental. Then the red would come, because of the blood, and later others like yellow, but blue, a fundamental color for us, actually has very little history in history. That is why an anachronism is incurred when we see films based on the ancient age in which the characters wear blue-tinted clothes. The first words to describe colors were certainly white, black, and red. In comparison, blue has very little history in history. Although there is a but, of course. Of all those civilizations that have passed into history and that long ago disappeared, one in particular, technologically advanced, was the exception, the Egyptian. The ancient Egyptians had a blue pigment, which can still be seen in their relics, and a word for it. It is likely that the Sumerians had it too, if we look at that marvel of Babylonian architecture that is the Ishtar Gate found in the Pergamon Museum in Berlin. The time, in fact, is less important than the technological advance at the time of having the idea or the concept. The Egyptians did have a pigment for blue, and its corresponding word. Some linguists point out that words like kajal, which in Hebrew means blue, are actually a variation that evolved over the years, and that it comes from black, since the root is the same as that of kohol, the black cosmetic that is used to paint his eyes. In the same way, the Greeks, including Homer, used the word quanos, but in their times it did not mean blue but black or something dark. Surprising, of course, in a civilization born in the Mediterranean where the color that did not exist is precisely the one that is most present in its characteristic and beautiful nature. Or at least, that's how we see it.